Next one up here, calls a day. Some big analyst upgrades, downgrades in regards to Tesla Caterpillar, and I think that's an important subject to react to.
Oh, 0.4% or 187 points, just new record after new record. All right, let's get a little more micro. Go through some of the biggest analyst calls of the day. Amgen downgraded to hold from buy at Truist. Bill, you own it. Does this make you nervous?
It doesn't. I mean, these calls go back and forth. I mean, they're waiting for their GLP, their Lilly competition here. And in this, if they're able to hit this right, I mean, this could be a $10 billion increase to their bottom line. I like the opportunity here. We're going to continue to own it. It's right in the middle of our pack. So they're going to continue. It's a cycle of analyst calls around this name.
Okay, here we go. Let's talk, Brent, about another energy source, lithium. Albemarle, their target was raised to 100 from 80. The stock by Deutsche Bank, Brent, I don't need to tell you, this stock has really not been able to get out of its own way since it hit new highs 2 years ago. What's your take on Albemarle and this call? What do we do with it?
I mean, the call just says the price should be where it is right now.
I know.
So,
I know.
Lithium, right. So, but lithium spot prices are down 55% over the last 1 year. And so to me, this is about China. And so if you want to play China, historically, China, and Michael Semblas had a really great piece on this, of the BRICS, China.
Whoa. I just looked at something. You guys see Palantir? Palantir's flirting with 44. Oh my gosh. Like, it's holding the gain so well. You would have thought, okay, it goes over 40, it's going to come right back down. It's holding the gains incredibly well, which means either it's just still a ridiculous amount of hype around Palantir, or maybe, just maybe, they got 30% plus revenue numbers coming, and everybody's about to get their flapjacks flipped here.
Has the worst GDP throughput to earnings. So GDP is growing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't trickle through to earnings. So everyone thinks Baba and JD are cheap. They're going to remain cheap because that does not correlate. Stimulus does not correlate to earnings of these companies because they're a communist regime. But what does potentially go through is the commodity prices. And as China is 60% of EV sales, they are all in. If China does continue this stimulus outside of real estate into the real economy, that could easily put a floor in lithium prices, which then would be a multiplier effect on an Albemarle, SQM, or even like a copper. So if I were going to play China, I would play it through the commodities versus the individual companies.
Yeah, and you're so right about these calls that raise the target toward the stock. It's like the Wall Street equivalent of like lukewarm grilled chicken. Like you don't want it, but if it's all you've got, it's what you're going to do. By the way, Tesla, Bryn, back to you, reiterated overweight at Piper Sandler. By the way, another call similar. Evercore reiterates in line, but raises their target to 195. But as you can see on the screen, 195, Bryn, is below where Tesla's currently trading.
Right.
So that was grilled chicken. Maybe this is a stale bun. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought that was a misprint, and maybe they meant 295 because they recommended the overweight. You know, Tesla's earnings come out the 23rd. Obviously, the stock had run up significantly going into the 10/10 event, and now we have earnings. The stock sold off. I think people were disappointed on multiple fronts. I think on October 23rd is where we're going to hear the details that we definitely did not hear in the 19-minute robotaxi review last week. I think they're going to talk about the cheaper car. I think they're going to talk about FSD improvements. And I think that from a technical, the stock has a tremendous amount of resistance at like 265, 275, has a tremendous amount of support at 198, 205. And so I think, watch this stock. If it starts pulling off, selling off into that October 23rd, I think that could be a good buy, a good opportunity to buy in and add to that position.
Okay, here's a call, Bill, where you act.
So here we go. Tesla. You're going to keep in mind, Tesla is not a normal stock. Okay. What does that mean? This is what it means. When I say it's not a normal stock, I'm talking about Tesla trades based upon, do people view things as getting better or getting worse? Now, for a while, Tesla was a very attractive stock to buy put options on. I even made money. As of Tesla long, I made a bunch of money on Tesla puts, right? And the reason it was a good opportunity for put options for quite a while there is the story was getting worse and worse and worse, right? The delivery numbers kept getting worse. The production numbers kept getting worse. it was just in this downward funnel to no man's land. That's ended now. The story around Tesla is only getting better. The price cuts days of every second you wake up, you feel like they just cut price again. They cut price again. That's over. The horrible production numbers, delivery numbers, that's over. The Cybertruck is now at a place where it's into a good ramp. It's going to ramp even higher now. But in terms of, I would say they probably lost a lot of money on Cybertrucks for quite a while there. I would say 2025 is looking like a year where they should be able to make significant amounts of money from Cybertruck versus I would say a high probability they lost a lot of money on producing every Cybertruck they produce this year. Whereas next year they should make a lot of money from that. That's getting better. As time ticks on here, we're getting closer and closer to the actual robotaxis being out there, right? And so the bottom line is in regards to Tesla, the story's getting better, right? You might say, it's at a high forward P. When's it not been at a high forward P? Show me a time period where Tesla stock has not traded at a high forward P. It always does. At a high price sales ratio, it always does. Like, it's Tesla. It's always going to command a ridiculous valuation because a lot of people are convinced that Tesla is going to be a multi-trillion dollar company, a $10 trillion company, the biggest company in the world. People are convinced of that. And so they're going to pay up for that stock, right? And until that's ever proven not the case, which it's going to take 5-10 years just to even prove whether that's going to be accurate or not, right? Like, you're going to always have that stock trade ridiculously rich. Would I love to buy Tesla at a forward P of 20 or 30? Sure. But guess what? Everybody would. Everybody would. And that's exactly why I will never trade at a forward P of 20 or 30. Or if it does, it's going to be a long, long time from now when Tesla's maybe growth days aren't there and Elon Musk isn't at the company or something like that anymore, right? And so Tesla, I look at Tesla and I'm like, everything's getting better now. I like those production delivery numbers that came out a week or two ago. Like that was big in my opinion as far as getting confidence back in this company. And, I understand a lot of people wanted more details. I wanted more details on that Tesla day. But the more I look at it, the more I'm like, it's genius to not go as detailed. Because here's the thing. If Tesla goes super detailed on that presentation, then a lot of people starts to get caught up into the micro stuff, right? The details of this and that. Instead, what is the conversation all on social media? It's all about people loving the car, hating the car, the bus, like, oh, that's the coolest thing ever. People saying, oh, that's so not practical. What happens when it goes over a curb? People seeing the robots and saying, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. And then people saying, well, it's not that amazing because they got teleoperators in there talking. It's not the robots talking. It's all these debates about these like bigger, more viral subjects rather than like these nitty gritty things about like, oh, why does the app work like this? It should probably work like that, right? And so instead you're talking about bigger overarching, like more exciting subjects that are more likely to go viral, right? And it's not like robotaxis are launching tomorrow. So the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, well, do they really need to show off the app and everything and exactly how all that's going to work? Now, they're not launching the product now. Show all that off when you get closer to the actual launch date, when this is like a real deal Holyfield and it's in the market, right? So that was kind of my thought around that. But anyways, always remember Tesla trades more off sentiment than it trades off the financials.
You have a price target that is higher than the actual stock price. That's kind of what we're looking for. Mizuho raising their target on Broadcom to 220, stocks at 181. What do you think? It's breaking out. I mean, the stock looks terrific. Now, if you look at outside of NVIDIA, it's been the best performing, really, as the largest cap stock within the chip space. But it's the diversification they have as well with VMware, which is more of a subscription business. But you also have the infrastructure spending, the continue that's building out here within that space. So I think that this name is going to continue to rise. And we hold it not only in our main portfolio, but we also hold it in our concentrated portfolio of no more than 10 names. All right, Steve, you recently dumped out of Caterpillar, Morgan Stanley, downgrading the name. I imagine you're not jumping back in on this one.
No. And as I said before, I think that that's going to be challenging for them to meet all the optimism that's out there in the street. And the stock's not cheap. I mean, when you look at multiples that are low single digits historically, which is where this company should trade at, you say, wow, that's cheap when the market's trading at 22 times. But there are traditional multiples depending upon the sector, depending upon companies. And this one right now, I believe, is overvalued.
Morgan Stanley clearly agrees.
So let me take a peek at Cat. I mean, Cat's such a great company before we get into Tom Lee here and his opinions, perspectives on the market. Cat is such a great company. I mean, truly such a great company. I would love to take a peek at CAT here and just kind of zero in on them. Let's take a peek and see where CAT's at here valuation wise. So around a 17 forward P and 2-year forward P is around the same, right? Next year earnings per share growth, not very exciting. Revenue growth, not very exciting in regards to CAT. So yeah. And the issue is if you have, obviously we're in a higher interest rate environment. Still, we're going to likely go into a lower interest rate environment, but there's kind of a lag there. So you could look at it as there's not going to be as many big projects done for the next 1 to 2 years, right? And so there might not be as much of a need for Caterpillar equipment, but then you have all the government spending on the other side, which is pretty insane. And then just keep in mind, the more CAT machinery that's out there, the more potential revenue they can make off parts. You know, things go wrong with these things, right? These big machines. And so things have to be fixed if they're out of warranty, all those sorts of things, right? It's coming out of the contractor's pocket. So, you know, and they're kind of a little bit, I almost look at them a little bit as a Boeing, except they actually run their company well, unlike Boeing. But I look at their company as kind of similar to Boeing in terms of they almost have like a monopoly type market share. Hold on. Yes, son? Oh, wow. Jeez, that's crazy. Okay, I'm recording a video, okay? And so I almost look at like CAT as like a Boeing type company, right? Where it just seems like they almost have like a monopoly market share. You know, John Deere competes in this space a little bit in the construction side of the business, but they're not like a huge player. They're more focused on farm equipment, right? And then outside of that, I mean, you've got a few other players here, Japanese company, but I mean, the CAT's the big dog. CAT's the big dog. That's funny. CAT's the big dog. But yeah, do I want to buy it? No. I really don't. Let's take a peek at the charts of CAT here because I am kind of interested to see. I would assume their revenue has been heading up in a nice direction over the past number of years. See on a trailing 12-month basis. Well, actually, it was heading up very nicely for quite a while, but actually it's downtrended recently, which is kind of intriguing in regards to CAT on a trailing 12-month basis. Wow. I was not expecting that. Earnings per share, trailing 12-month basis, has kind of flatlined as well. Wow. Trailing 12-month free cash flow, downtrending a little bit here as well. So you could look at CAT and you could say maybe this baby's been topping. Shareholder equity topped. Yeah, I want to buy CAT though when everybody feels horrible about the economy, right? I want to buy CAT when we're in a big unemployment cycle. That's when I want to buy CAT. Because that's when no one's going to want to own CAT. When you see unemployment going up, 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 boop, 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 no one's going to want to own CAT. I mean, no one. And that is when you get a special opportunity in the stock. That's the opportunity you could get to maybe buy the stock at $100, $150, $200, something like that. But for right now, Hey there, it's Jeremy. I hope you really enjoyed that clip here today. What I'm showing you right now is 1000xstocks.com. This is a specific software that has been designed to save you time. It's a one-stop shop for long-term investors to know how the company is doing, listen to what management has planned for the future, and compare companies next to each other. Which big tech is the most undervalued? Is that small cap company you heard of actually worth investing in? Or are there red flags? Get the front row to the conference call, be able to access the management, which information is right to make an educated decision. Get all that information through 1000xstocks.com. You can access that through the description area. You can apply for access to 1000xstocks.com, or you can go to 1000xstocks.com. Tesla, my Tesla. So this is an interesting one because I was selling this stock going into the robo-taxi event, right? And I was cashing out, some of those shares in regards to Tesla. Now, I feel a little bit different about Tesla now after seeing the robo-taxi event. Actually, now I don't want to cash any more shares. Originally, because I have about 1,300 shares in the public account here. And so originally, my plan was to get down to around 1,000 shares of Tesla. But now I don't want to do that. And I actually want to hold the 1,300 shares I have. And here's why. I'm looking at their delivery and their production numbers, and they have started trending back in the right direction again, which I am definitely very happy with, okay? Additionally, now that I've seen what they have coming, which is exactly what I wanted them to have as far as kind of their future here, I see a future that's very bright in regards to the robo-taxi opportunity. Now, I do not like that Waymo has vehicles in the market in several different markets today that you can get in with no driver inside. I do not like that because Tesla does not have that right now. I don't like that. But what I'll say here is it does not mean Tesla has lost this war. And the reason being is the way Tesla is doing their technology here. If they pull this off, which to bet against Elon Musk and this team is, you don't want to bet against these guys. You know, there's the same brain trust of individuals that are landing rockets in the middle of the ocean. Okay, so I'm just telling you, like Elon Musk and his teams, their engineers, these folks are built different. They do things that you never thought were possible, right? And so I think there's a real potential that Tesla's technology, when it comes to robo-taxis, could end up being just as good, if not better, than Waymo. But the difference is going to be, it's not about being necessarily better than Waymo or not. The key is that it's just as good as Waymo's technology today, right? But it doesn't have to use all the LiDAR and the different technology there. Because if Tesla pulls this off through just their camera technology alone and the AI, we're going to be in a situation here where Tesla's cost advantage is going to be immense versus the competition. Because those LiDAR vehicles they produce are very, very expensive. Now, if Tesla's able to pull this off with, this robo-taxi cars that are, let's say, are $30,000 out the door less, but probably cost for Teslas maybe $12,000, $15,000, $20,000. Oh my gosh, then Tesla has the biggest cost advantage. They win. They beat everybody because at the end of the day, this will be more of a commoditized business. So if company A, if you go to book a ride and you have an option of, taking an Uber through Waymo, whatever, right? Or taking a Tesla, and the cost is significantly cheaper for the Tesla, you're going to take the Tesla. Like, everybody's going to take the Tesla, right? I don't want to say everybody, but the far majority of individuals will take the Tesla in the end. And then Tesla wins the war, and they get 70, 80, 90% market share, right? We're talking market share of Google's type, search market type market share. Like, we're talking Meta in regards to their social networking type market share, like epic numbers. So I walked away feeling better about the short term with Tesla, given the production and delivery numbers recently, and additionally felt better about the long term with the robo-taxi opportunity there. Now, robots, Optimus, all those sorts of things, like, cool, maybe 5-10 years from now, that might be realistic technology, but I'm not baking that into any of my numbers here. And the one other thing that gets forgotten with Tesla that I do think is a very bullish thing to be, very excited about in regards to Tesla is the energy opportunity. That energy business is growing immensely. It's unbelievable. So thinking about the way the energy business is growing with the car business getting back on the right track, and then the more 3, 4, 5 year opportunity of robo-taxi right there, right? Additionally, the supercharging network opportunity with the services side of the business is going to, that business is going to go insane over this next 5-10 years, especially as there's more and more Teslas on the road and more EVs in general, because we know all these EV companies are pretty much all partnering with Tesla to use their supercharging network, right? Which just leads into one of many potential relationships there. So the moral of the story is, in regards to Tesla, I'm feeling better about the short term, and I'm feeling better about the long term since I got to see the production numbers, and I've gotten to see this event now at this point in time. So, and additionally, Tesla's they're really the only auto manufacturer out there that's a big auto manufacturer that has a great balance sheet. And I don't think that gets talked about enough. Have you guys seen how bad the balance sheets are in the automobile industry? Oh my gosh. Are they in for a rude awakening if their businesses turn any more significantly south, right? I mean, these guys do not have great balance sheets. And we've been in a great auto market for sales for a while, but that's obviously changed over the past year or so, I would say, right? And it's starting to really be reflected in a lot of these big auto manufacturer numbers. But when you think about Tesla's balance sheet and the cash position this company has versus the other guys are not in a position to really invest in their business the way they need to invest in their business. Given that we're in the two major fundamental changes in regards to the automobile industry. We're going EV, and we're going where the car drives you, not you drive the car. Those are two fundamental, insane shifts all going on at the same exact time, right? And these other auto manufacturers are not really in the position to to really like fight Tesla the way they need to fight Tesla in the end, right? And, you know, obviously I've been kind of getting more into the supercar stuff recently, right? I bought a Ferrari and you know, really just talked to so many people that are really enthusiasts in regards to the supercar community. And it's fascinating for me to see, even these supercar companies, they would never admit it, but it's fascinating for me to see how much these guys are influenced by Tesla. Because you look at all the traditional auto manufacturers, they're all influenced by Tesla. They're all trying to shift their businesses to EV, or trying to, you know, copy Tesla and do this and do that, right? But even these supercar manufacturers, I look at what Ferrari's done. I'm looking at what Lamborghini's doing. They're even being influenced by Tesla. They would never admit it. But you look at these cars, in terms of everything's trying to go digital now, and a lot of the you know, the supercar enthusiasts are not happy about all these buttons going digital, right? Instead of all these manual buttons you used to have, it's all going into one screen. The front of your display is now all digital, right? This is all stuff that's being directly influenced by Tesla. Tesla's been doing this for years and years and years, and all these other guys are moving that way, right? Additionally, you're looking at these supercar companies that are now trying to put electric motors additionally into their cars, and also have the internal combustion engine in there as well, right? So now they're trying to slowly go EV as well, which a lot of the people don't like. And so I'm looking and I'm like, even these supercar companies are being influenced by Tesla. Never mind the masses. Tesla's by far the most influential company in the auto space by a mile, right? And I think that shows, like, you know, you're doing something special. If you can be influencing the top guys, the ones that are selling the $300,000 and $400,000 cars, and the guys that are selling the $30,000 and $40,000 cars, you're pretty dang influential when it comes to that, right? And so Tesla, I gotta say, I'm feeling much better about Tesla, much better. Hey there, it's Jeremy. I hope you really enjoyed that clip here today. What I'm showing you right now is 1000xstocks.com. This is a specific software that has been designed to save you time. It's a one-stop shop for long-term investors to know how the company is doing, listen to what management has planned for the future, and compare companies next to each other. Which big tech is the most undervalued? Is that small cap company you heard of actually worth investing in, or are there red flags? Get the front row to the conference call, be able to access the management, which information is right to make an educated decision. Get all that information through 1000xstocks.com. You can access that through the description area. You can apply for access to 1000xstocks.com, or you can go to 1000xstocks.com. All right, next one up here, AI demand is still strong, will probably exceed expectations.
From yesterday's broader chip sell-off on the heels of a disappointing earnings leak from ASML, that stock still sinking today. NVIDIA also getting hit with news that the DOJ is considering capping AI chip exports to some countries. Joining me now to discuss all this is Bernstein Research's Stacey Rasgon. Stacey, it's good to have you here. It always sounds like there's a ton going on around NVIDIA. Certainly there is. Not to mention we have, you know, Jensen is really, you know, on the circuit out there kind of preaching the future at every turn as well. And yet the stock's, you know, it's up 0.7% this week. It's kind of hanging in there onto this gain. So separate out what matters and what might not for this one.
Yeah, you bet. So yesterday took a hit along with the rest of the sector on two things. One was the ASML earnings leak, which was interesting in its own right, and some of the export control news. I think any hit that it took on the ASML report was probably not really justified, because while ASML's report, as we all know now, was not great, the one sort of bright spot from it was AI demand. It seems like AI demand is still off the charts. It's about the only thing that is, but it's still very strong, and clearly like that benefits NVIDIA. I do wonder if some of the hit yesterday was more around some of the export control stuff. And what's going on there is there were some stories that suggest the U.S. is considering, I guess they suggested capping the licenses that NVIDIA and other AI chip vendors can use to sell parts to other countries, particularly, I guess, in this case, the Middle East. I'd say, and though I'm not sure it's that big of a deal, I guess we'll see. But caps, in my opinion, are not bans. They already have they're already under licensing arrangements with the Middle East. They have to get licenses to ship there anyways. And frankly, the other like outright bans that we've seen in the past haven't really slowed them down at all. So I'm not terribly worried about that. They seem to be more incremental than anything else. And we saw the stock yesterday was coming down before the ASML. They dropped sharply and then kind of recovered a little bit afterwards. And so I think today it's kind of relaxing a little bit as it's clear that the ASML news is not a direct read across, and maybe the export control stuff isn't as big of a deal as people might have been worried at first.
Yeah, people made way too big of a deal of the ASML situation there in regards to selling machinery, right? Like, just because their demand for selling machinery because you gotta understand, like, they're a massive machinery maker. That doesn't mean NVIDIA's numbers are bad. Where do people like make these things up in their brain about in regards to this? That doesn't even make sense. Like, to assume NVIDIA's numbers are going to be bad, because I'm watching the guys on Fast Money last night, and some of them are like questioning NVIDIA because of ASML's earnings. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Like, you realize there's like a billion different semiconductors in different companies out there. Like, NVIDIA's already said demand's great. We know demand's amazing for NVIDIA, and we know demand next year for NVIDIA is going to be amazing, right? 2026, 2027, you could begin to ask questions. But to assume like I don't know, they're like fairy tale fantasy of like NVIDIA's growth is just going to stop right now. No, they're good. They're good for this year. They're good for next year. If you want to talk about 26, 27, you can talk about that. But don't act like right now they're like no one's ordering NVIDIA chips. Like, what are you doing?
Clearly, as you suggest, making its peace with whatever all this is. And I know there's a way also of saying, listen, this stock is where it traded 4 months ago. It had an absolutely massive run. It gets to $3.3 trillion market cap. And then maybe it needs to kind of hang out for a little while and figure out exactly how long we're going to be in this lucky position of demand outracing supply into next year. So where do you think that sits in terms of investor expectations and how the stock is positioned?
Yeah, it's interesting. You sort of look at the last couple of months, it was in a lot of news flow. The stock took a big hit several months ago on the Blackwell delay rumors. And while it does seem that there were some issues there, it really looks like they've worked through without any problems, right? So it didn't really have any impact on the demand trajectory. And I'd say since the stock I went to $90 or something, like close to it. And so it certainly recovered off of that. I guess that was a great entry point in hindsight. And look, going forward, I mean, all of the checks on AI demand, like I said, they're going to sell everything that they can make. And you mentioned Jensen's out there. I think he's been on your channel more than once in recent weeks and sounding very enthusiastic. It's the one bright spot in the whole semiconductor arena right now. It's the one thing where we can definitively point and say demand is probably going to exceed expectations, even expectations that I think are going up now. Some of the other areas in semis, I wish you could say that. You can't really say that right now.
No, for sure. Well, speaking of the other areas of semis, I mean, we also have these reports that, maybe Qualcomm, if it is considering some kind of a bid for Intel, might be waiting till after the election.
We'll see about that whole situation, okay?